way to salvation according to Jesus Christ is simply to love others and to love God with all your heart. But to Paul creates a new gospel. He says that the way to be saved is to believe in the atonement of Jesus Christ. But you can't have it both ways. You see, Christ taught the way to salvation before his atonement. So if Paul is right, then that means Jesus is wrong. Jesus didn't want anybody to believe in him. He was not, he did not consider himself some divine figure to be worshipped. Remember when he was called good? He said, "Why callest thou me good? There is none good but the Father." The New Testament is not reliable because the apostles never understood Jesus Christ. They would repeatedly ask him, "What do you mean by this? What does this parable mean? What does this metaphor mean?" And Jesus would say, "You've been with me this long and you still don't understand what I'm saying?" So if that's not enough, the dating of these apostles, the first writings that we have from them aren't up until 50 to 60 years after the death of Christ. So these aren't even first-hand accounts. We don't even have copies of the first-hand account. I mean, this stuff is just almost, it's where did it come from? You know, not only that, but it's not up until some 300 years after the death of Christ that the Bible is compiled by the Roman Catholic Church. Who knows what they took in and left out? Egyptian symbolism is still alive today. For example, if you look at the lock on your door, if you twist it upright, in a vertical, upright, erect position, that means it's locked. If it's unlocked, it's flat, horizontal, right? In a passive position. So basically what that is straight up and down has always meant erect. It's been symbolic of the masculine phallus generative principle, okay? So it's straight up, it's standing, it's alive, it's active, okay? Now, the passive feminine energy is horizontal. It's lying down as if it is getting pregnant or receiving into it. It's a passive energy, okay? It's the feminine. So next time you look at your door and you can tell whether it's locked or unlocked, you can thank Egyptian symbolism. A common misconception is that the soul is the spirit. They're totally separate things. You see, the spirit is the inward man. It's the thinking part of you, right? The body, obviously the physical for the doing. So you have the two combined, the spiritual and the physical create the soul. You are a living, breathing soul, okay? So some people like to say, "Oh, my soul, I have soul," or "My soul will leave my body when I die." But that is not accurate. So just a PSA, soul is not your spirit. The soul is the spirit and the body combined together. You cannot sell your soul. In fact, the people who say they sell their soul are actually meaning their spirit, okay? You can't sell your spirit for fame and money. I mean, anybody who knows anything about spirituality knows that there's only one spirit, and that is the Spirit of God. And everything that exists is just God experiencing itself through its creation. So how do you sell or trade that? Something that's not you. You can't separate God from God, okay? So you may be selling out on your morality. You may be doing something immoral to get fame and money, but you cannot separate what is, which is God, from God's self, okay? So this shows you how ignorant people are when they say these ridiculous Hollywood spooky things. Don't wait until you die to resurrect. Now is the time while you're alive so you can experience it. It's time to put in the work so that you can actually experience life in its abundance. It's time to crucify the old perspective, the old person. Face the dark night of the soul, the 3 days in the tomb. Then you can resurrect with a profound understanding of the way that life should be. you can experience this life fully awake, and you can embrace it for what it truly is. Peace. Peace within. If you don't raise your children, someone else will do it for you. The elite would love to do it. The powers that be would love for you to simply allow everything through social media and all these other platforms to just spew into the minds of them and allow that to cultivate them. So the mind is the same way. You have to have someone symbolically. You have to have a guard stand at the door of your holy temple, right? And with a flaming sword, you have to have them stand guard there, okay? And what you're doing is you are being careful and selective about what enters into your subconscious, because what enters into your subconscious manifests physically. So they have the power to draw these things out of us, but only if we are ignorant of ourselves and we do not know ourselves. Real demon possession is when your ego takes over. The ego identifies with things. It identifies with theology, religion, physical things, your body. It's like the ultimate demon that possesses you, right? So your ego can even convince you that if you harm somebody or kill somebody in the name of some religion or ideology, that you can be remembered as a martyr, right? That you'll be powerful after you do such harmful things. That is true possession by a true demon right there. The ego is a monster that can grow out of control. That's why it's important to know thyself. Be conscious of the ego and to be able to keep it within its bounds, right? To be able to limit it and to control it and not have it control you. You cannot destroy ego. Ego must exist in order to know you exist. In order for life to exist, ego has to exist. But it's a tool. It should be utilized. And if not kept under control, it can spiral out of control and take over. Okay? If you go back to sacred geometry, you have the one dot, right? Which represents oneness. It's God. And then from that dot, you start to create. So you draw a line from that dot. Now what do you have? 2 points of reference. You see, you went from oneness to duality. Okay. Number 2 often symbolizes ignorance because it dares separate itself from God. It has the audacity to separate itself from God and say, here I am. So that's what is needed, but it must be controlled and harnessed. The Republican and Democrat Party are 2 wings of the same bird. You have the right and the left. You have the feminine and the masculine. The Democrats represent the feminine party because they believe in giving everybody everything, making everybody comfortable, these socialist ideas where, you get a trophy for showing up, stuff like that. All of this feminine, emotional stuff coming from the Democrat Party. Then on the Republican side, you have the masculine party. This is the party that's kind of hard, right? You go out and you want something, you earn it, you build it. You push your way through, you struggle. It's sort of like a stoic kind of mentality. You don't get any free passes, right? What you get, you've worked hard for, right? So you have these 2 parties in America that represent the masculine and the feminine energies constantly fighting with each other. So how do the divine masculine and feminine work together to create offspring, a product? Well, here's an example. You're walking through your yard, you step on a water hose, you think it's a snake at first. You're startled. That is because the right side of your brain was the first to react. It's the feminine side of the brain, which contains the emotion, the imagination. It reacted first. Oh, what could it be? It could be many things. It could be a snake. It jumps in fear. Then, second thing that happens is the left side, which is the masculine side. Then it kicks in and it analyzes it. It investigates. It figures out. It does the research, right? The intellectual research. So when they work together like this, the right and the left side, the masculine and the feminine, the product is the understanding, the knowledge. Okay, that's the result. It came together to make order. So what is this balance that we talk about that comes from the divine masculine and feminine? What is that offspring? That offspring is balance, and balance can be found in all of existence. Because without the perfect balance of things, conditions for, if there was not a perfect balance, those things would not exist. A perfect order, perfect pattern. They have to, they are made and created through the masculine and feminine energies and attributes to bring together this creation that exists in the perfect balance that is needed for that thing's existence. So basically, in order for you to exist, you are existing in the perfect balance that allows you to exist. You are the product. You are the great I am.